To the world, Lynda Carter will always be Wonder Woman, the fierce, fearless icon in that famous red, blue, and gold suit. But away from the cameras, her life wasn't always filled with glamour and applause. Behind the smiles were moments of heartbreak, personal struggles, and battles she never thought she'd face. From her rise to stardom in the 70s to the challenges that tested her strength, Lynda's real story is one of courage and resilience. She inspired millions on screen, but her off-screen journey is where the true fight happened. Join us as we explore her life from the very beginning and see everything that she has been through. The rise of Lynda Carter. Lynda Carter's story begins in Phoenix, Arizona, where she was born to Juana Cordova and Colby Carter. Her father's side had English and Irish roots, while her mother's family came from Chihuahua, Mexico, with Spanish and French ancestry. Lynda grew up with her brother Vincent and her sister Pamela. Even as a little girl, she had a spark that stood out. At just 5 years old, she appeared on Lou King's talent show, marking her first time on television. Music quickly became a big part of her life. In high school, she joined a band called Just Us, which had a unique mix of instruments, from a marimba and a conga drum to an acoustic guitar and a stand-up bass played by another girl in the group. By the time she was 15, Lynda was already earning money by singing at a local pizza parlor. At 16, she took another big step and joined her cousins in a band called The Relatives. That's where she met actor Gary Berghoff, who played the drums for the group. The band got a chance to open at the Sahara Hotel and Casino Lounge in Las Vegas for 3 months. But since Lynda was under 21, she wasn't allowed to enter through the main entrance and had to walk through the kitchen instead. In 1970, she auditioned for and joined the Garfin Gathering, led by Howard "Speedy" Garfin. Their first performance was at the Holiday Inn Chinatown in San Francisco. The hotel was so new it didn't even have a finished sidewalk, so most of their audience ended up being hotel staff and guests parking in the underground garage. For a while, they toured Nevada's Silver Circuit, performing in casino lounges across cities like Lake Tahoe, Carson City, Reno, and Las Vegas. But by 1972, Lynda decided it was time for a new chapter. She left the band and returned to Arizona, ready to chase a career in acting. And that decision would change her life forever. From beauty queen to screen star. In 1972, Lynda entered a local beauty contest in Arizona and won. This victory led her to the national stage, where she represented Arizona in the Miss World USA 1972 pageant and won the crown. She then went on to represent the United States in the Miss World 1972 competition and made it to the top 15. With her beauty and charm catching attention, Lynda moved to New York to study acting. She took classes at several acting schools, and one of her acting partners during this time was Les Moonves, who would later become president of CBS. Lynda's first acting job came in 1974, when she appeared in an episode of the police drama Nakia titled Roots of Anger. She then made guest appearances on popular shows like Starsky and Hutch and Cause, along with roles in a few low-budget B movies. But her big break was still ahead. In 1975, she was close to giving up on her dream. She had only $25 left in the bank and was thinking of going back to Arizona. Then she got the call. Joanna Cassidy had lost the role of Wonder Woman, and Lynda was in. She later said, "I never meant to be a sexual object for anyone but my husband. I never thought a picture of my body would be tacked up in men's bathrooms. I hate men looking at me and thinking what they think. And I know what they think. They write and tell me." That honesty showed she was much more than just a pretty face. She had strong values and wasn't afraid to speak her mind. Becoming an icon. The Wonder Woman TV series aired from 1975 to 1979, first on ABC and later on CBS. Lynda's portrayal of Diana Prince, also known as Wonder Woman, won the hearts of fans and critics alike. Her performance, along with the comic-accurate costume and catchy theme song, turned the character into a TV icon. But even with all the success, Lynda never forgot that the role could be both a blessing and a curse. In 2017, she recalled that one of the show's producers had warned her, "Oh, women are going to be so jealous of you." Lynda's reply was, "Not a chance. They won't be, because I am not playing her that way. I want women to want to be me or be my best friend." That mindset made her stand out. She didn't just want to look like a hero, she wanted to be one for her audience. She later described playing Wonder Woman as an almost magical experience. There is something about the character where in your creative mind for that time in your life where you pretended to be her. It felt like you could fly. In 1985, DC Comics honored her in their 50th anniversary publication, 50 Who Made DC Great, for her role in bringing Wonder Woman to life. Over the years, her image as Wonder Woman continued to be celebrated, with DC releasing collectible statues and busts in her likeness. But behind the fame, Lynda was also navigating the challenges that came with being forever linked to one role. And yet, she embraced it, understanding that Wonder Woman meant more to people than she could ever have imagined. Lynda Carter's life after Wonder Woman. When Wonder Woman was still being made, Lynda Carter was already in high demand. She wasn't just known as a TV star, she was also doing big promotional work. In 1978, she was named the most beautiful woman in the world by the International Academy of Beauty and the British Press Organization. She had signed a modeling deal with Maybelline in 1977, and in 1979, she even appeared in a Diet 7up commercial with comedian Don Rickles. Lynda also became the first woman to ever provide a voiceover for a movie trailer, doing it for the 1975 film The Drowning Pool. She was chasing her passion for music too, recording her album Portrait in the late 70s and co-writing several songs for TV specials. She even performed 2 of her songs in a Wonder Woman episode called Amazon Hot Wax. In 1977, she released a promotional poster which sold over 1 million copies, even though she didn't like it. "I just simply took a photograph. I thought it was a dumb photograph," she once said. She was also originally cast in Apocalypse Now as a Playboy Playmate bunny, but bad weather delayed filming, and her Wonder Woman schedule forced her to leave. After Wonder Woman ended, she appeared in The Muppet Show in 1980, where the running joke was the Muppets thinking she was really Wonder Woman. She got her own musical TV specials like Lynda Carter's Special, Encore, Celebration, Street Life, and Body and Soul. She starred in the TV movie Rita Hayworth, the Love Goddess in 1983, and acted alongside Lonnie Anderson in the series Partners in Crime in 1984. Through the 90s, she was busy with TV movies and commercials, and she even started her own production company, Potomac Productions. She also narrated the audiobook Where There's Smoke in 1993. In the 2000s, reruns of Wonder Woman made her popular with a new generation. She acted in films like Super Troopers, The Dukes of Hazzard, and Sky High, where she joked, "I'm not Wonder Woman, you know." She guest-starred in Smallville and voiced characters in video games like The Elder Scrolls and Fallout 4, even writing and performing songs for the game. She toured with her musical cabaret show, released albums like At Last, Crazy Little Things, and Red, Rock and Blues, and performed at top venues nationwide. In 2016, she joined Gal Gadot and others at the UN for a Wonder Woman event, though the project ended after protests. In 2017, she returned to the DC world as President Olivia Marsden in Supergirl, proving she still had that star power. The legacy lives on. Even decades after the original series ended, Lynda Carter's name remained tied to Wonder Woman. When director Patty Jenkins worked on the 2017 Wonder Woman movie, she approached Lynda for a cameo role. Unfortunately, Lynda's concert schedule kept her from joining the project at that time. But she promised that if there was another chance and a good part for her, she would do it. That promise came true in Wonder Woman 1984, where Lynda appeared in the post-credits scene as Asteria, the golden warrior of the Amazons. Speaking about the character and the films, Lynda explained, "Many actresses or actors, they want to divorce themselves from a role because we are actors. We really aren't the people that we play. But I knew very early on that this character is much more than me, certainly. And to try to divorce myself from the experiences that other people have of the character is silly." Her words show that she sees Wonder Woman as something bigger than herself, a symbol that belongs to everyone who has ever been inspired by her. From a young girl singing in a pizza parlor to an international beauty queen, and from a struggling actress with $25 in the bank to a global icon, Lynda Carter's journey is one of talent, determination, and resilience. But what does her personal life look like behind the cameras? A love story that started when she least expected. Before the world knew her as Wonder Woman, Lynda Carter had a life full of twists and turns in love. In 1973, she had a romantic relationship with French singer Michel Polnareff, but it didn't last long. Years later, she married her talent agent, Ron Samuels, in 1977. That marriage lasted 5 years, but Carter later admitted she was very unhappy during that time. Then came 1982, the year her life changed. She met Robert Altman, a successful lawyer in Washington, D.C., who would later co-found ZeniMax Media. At that time, Carter was going through her divorce from Samuels and wasn't looking for love. But sometimes love finds you when you least expect it. Carter and Altman fell for each other, and in 1984, they married. She even stepped away from Hollywood in 1985 to join him in Washington, D.C. for a few years. Together, they built a beautiful life. They had 2 children, James in 1988 and Jessica in 1990. The family lived in a 20,000-square-foot Georgian-style mansion in Potomac, Maryland, which they built just before James was born. Their home was even featured in magazines and on TV. This was a couple that looked like they had it all: love, family, and success. But their story would have its share of challenges, and one of those challenges would make headlines nationwide. Standing by him through the storm. In 1993, Robert Altman faced one of the biggest tests of his life. He became caught up in a highly publicized jury trial linked to the Bank of Credit and Commerce International and its secret acquisition of First American Bankshares, Inc. The case was huge and attracted a lot of attention. For Carter, it wasn't just a story in the news, it was her husband's life on the line. She stood by him the entire time. In fact, when the verdict came in and he was acquitted, cameras caught Carter hugging him and declaring, "Not guilty, not guilty," for everyone to hear. That moment showed the strength of their bond. Carter often said that Altman was the kind of man who made her laugh and brought her back from the edge when she got caught up in the small stresses of life. They had what she called a real romance, with ups, downs, ins and outs, but it was genuine. She once shared with Closer Weekly, "Don't marry the first person that proposes to you." For her, Altman was worth the wait. Through good times and bad, they built nearly 4 decades together. But in February 2021, Carter's world was turned upside down in a way she could never have prepared for. The day everything changed. On February 3, 2021, Robert Altman passed away at the age of 73. He had been battling myelofibrosis, a rare form of blood cancer. Even though Carter knew he was sick, nothing could have prepared her for the moment he was gone. Speaking to People, she said, "It still gets to me. I just can't believe I've lost him." They had been married for 37 years, and losing him left her feeling lost. She admitted, "It's totally frightening. I don't know who I am without Robert." In another interview, she revealed just how much the grief had taken over her daily life. "I cry probably 3 times a day, in the morning, and various times when I think of him." In a heartbreaking Instagram tribute shortly after his death, she wrote, "Nothing could prepare our family for this moment, but we will do our best to follow our dreams and honor the legacy you've left behind. I will love you always and forever." Altman's passing wasn't just the loss of a husband, it was the loss of her partner, her best friend, and the person who had been her anchor for nearly 4 decades. Yet, even in her grief, Carter began searching for a way to move forward, even if she didn't yet know who she was without him. Turning heartbreak into music. Carter has always been more than just an actress. She's also a talented singer who has performed at places like the Lincoln Center in New York and the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. After losing Altman, she turned to music to express her grief and keep his memory alive. She began working on a new song called Human and Divine, which was released on October 29, 2021. She explained that writing the song made her feel extremely vulnerable and inspired. It was inspired both by her love story with Altman and by the romance between Steve and Diana in Wonder Woman 1984. Human and Divine became about the love between Steve and Diana, and then the love that some of us are so lucky enough to have in our lives, the great love stories over the ages, she said. For Carter, it wasn't just a song, it was a message. She hoped it would inspire others to connect with their own love stories, whether past or present. She admitted that this next chapter of her life is about learning who she is without Robert, even though it's scary. But through her music and her memories, she's keeping his love alive. As she once tweeted, "I miss Robert every day. His love continues to inspire and strengthen me." Sometimes, as Carter's life shows, real love stories are better than anything Hollywood could ever create. And they stay with you, even after goodbye. And yet, Carter's story wasn't only about love and loss. There were other chapters she had kept locked away, until the moment she decided to speak out. Breaking her silence. When Lynda Carter sat down in a quiet New York hotel lobby, she didn't expect her words to make the air feel so heavy. The woman who became famous for playing Wonder Woman in the 1970s was talking about the power of the Me Too movement. Then, when asked if she had ever faced sexual abuse or harassment in her career, she lowered her voice and said, "Yes." She revealed that her abuser is already facing punishment and some form of justice. She refused to give his name or details, but admitted she had thought about taking legal action. "He's already being done in," she said. "There's no advantage in piling on again. And I believe every woman in the Bill Cosby case. I believe them too." Carter also said she believed President Trump's accusers, adding, "Why would they lie?" She didn't want the focus to be on her, but on the wrongdoing of the man involved. "It's about him being a scumbag," she said. "Legally, I can't do anything. If I could, I would." She admitted recovery from the experience had been long and was probably still ongoing. Watching the Me Too movement rise had been emotional for her. She hoped it would bring lasting change, but believed sexism was still stronger in certain areas. She gave one shocking example from the Wonder Woman set. A cameraman drilled a hole in her dressing room wall to spy on her. They caught him, fired him, and drummed him out of the business, she said. But other times, she fended off inappropriate behavior herself, often with a sharp, "Are you kidding me?" Back then, women warned each other quietly about dangerous men. "Watch out for so-and-so," they would say. It was the only way to protect themselves. Yet speaking out risked being blacklisted. "Who's going to believe you?" she asked. This fear was everywhere, not only in Hollywood, but also among ordinary women like maids and caregivers. And that was the fight Me Too had finally brought into the open. A culture that didn't listen. Carter recalled asking her husband if he was shocked by the number of women sharing the Me Too stories. His answer was yes, but Carter said no woman was surprised. "It's been going on for years," she told him. "We've been trying to tell you. We've been trying to tell you for a long time, and you haven't listened." She explained the difference between a man flirting and a man assaulting someone. If someone hit on her and backed off when told to, that was one thing. But being cornered, locked in a room, or threatened was entirely different. The real problem was that speaking up could get you blackballed from the industry. For her, the movement's power came from famous women having the courage to expose powerful men like Harvey Weinstein. "He was going down anyway," she said, describing him as a bully no one liked. One woman spoke, then another, and the wall of silence began to crack. Carter's own career was moving forward again. She was about to narrate Epic Warrior Women, a history series for the Smithsonian Channel. She arrived at the interview dressed in black silk, hair perfectly styled, makeup ready for TV. She spoke with the same pride she felt seeing the Wonder Woman movie's success. Carter was close to the film's director, Patty Jenkins, and praised Gal Gadot's performance. "Patty got it," she said, meaning the true balance of the character. Even though she didn't appear in the movie, Carter was happy to see Wonder Woman on the big screen again. She said she didn't even watch the trailers before the premiere, but once there, she stood up and cheered. For Carter, this revival was more than nostalgia. It was proof the character still mattered, and the values she represented still inspired audiences. The whole woman. Working on the Smithsonian Project taught Carter about real women warriors throughout history, Amazons, female gladiators, and even fighters in 19th century Africa. She saw a common truth. In ancient times, the whole woman was respected. Mother, warrior, leader, companion. In her view, men's fear of women often came from their inability to control that wholeness. Men cannot procreate. "I think that's the issue," she said. In modern culture, she felt men still wanted to separate women into roles, sexual partner, virgin, or mother, but rarely saw them as all three. That's why she called for men to be champions of women, embracing every part of who they are. When asked if the Wonder Woman costume objectified her, Carter laughed and rolled her eyes. She said she never played the role as sexy or predatory. Neither did Gal Gadot. The show's revealing outfit, she argued, was modest compared to bikinis of the time. "You want to virginize Wonder Woman? It's ridiculous," she said. She was more embarrassed by beauty pageants than by wearing the superhero costume. Winning Miss World America in 1972 had been a strange moment for her. "That was objectifying. That was a meat market," she admitted. She only did it once, and even then almost lost her title for refusing at first to go on a USO tour in Vietnam. Pageants, she said, still had the same problem. Many beautiful, smart women, but only one winner, while everyone else is just losers. She never intended Wonder Woman to define her entire career. Yet she understood its magic. "It really isn't about me," she said. "It is about a role I created, and thank God people identified with it." Protecting the character. From the start, Carter knew she had to shape Wonder Woman, so women would love her as much as men did. A producer once warned her, "Women are going to hate you." But Carter refused to play her that way. The result was a heroine with not a mean bone in her body who stood against bullying and carried the lasso of truth as her inner light. She was strong, loving, honest, and fierce. Kids all over America, boys and girls, would spin around on playgrounds pretending to be her. Carter remembered the funny side of TV production in the 1970s. There were few female stunt performers, so men often wore the Wonder Woman costume for dangerous scenes. "You'd see them in the costume with chest hair coming out the top," she laughed, "and no curves." But She never saw the role as a burden. "Why would I go against it?" she asked. Fans told her their personal stories, and she valued those connections. Still, fame had its dark sides. Some fan attention was odd, like a man who sent her VHS tapes of himself talking about her. And some was scary. She admitted having stalkers. She tried to be careful without changing her way of life. For Carter, accessibility and friendliness made people less strange. Online criticism was another battle. People could disagree with her political views, she said, but "don't tell me to shut up." She refused to let her public image silence her voice. Even though Wonder Woman was always part of her identity, Carter built a life beyond the role. Some thought the show would limit her acting potential, but she didn't see it that way. "It is what it is," she said. After the series ended, she returned to her first love, singing. She toured, even while pregnant with her son James, but gave up performing on the road because it wasn't good for children. She focused on acting again, and when her son was grown and looking at colleges, she thought it was time to return to work in a bigger way. Lynda Carter's heart still aches. For Lynda Carter, the woman the world remembers as Wonder Woman, life has never been the same since her husband, Robert Altman, passed away in 2021. Even now, 3 years later, she admits the pain will never truly go away. "He was the great love of my life," she says. Every single day she thinks about him. She finds herself in moments where she's about to share something with him, only to remember he's no longer there. If she's on a flight, she still expects a message from him asking, "Did you land safely? Was everything all right?" That's the kind of partner he was. Always caring, always present. Now at 74, Lynda is honoring Robert with a deeply personal song called "Letters from Earth." Many people are surprised she's a singer, but music has been part of her life long before acting. She laughs as she remembers starting in clubs at just 14 and writing songs before her breakout role as Wonder Woman in 1976. This song, she says, is for anyone who has lost someone they love. She explains, "The soul of the song is about how you miss a person so much because they were such a presence in your life that it's almost impossible to imagine that you won't physically see them again in this life." She describes it as almost a prayer, wondering where they are, feeling like they didn't just vanish, because there's still so much of them left in the hearts of the people who loved them. It's a celebration of love, as much as it is heartbreaking, she adds. Since Robert's death, Lynda has been using her voice for more than just music. She's partnered with City of Hope to help fund research into complicated blood cancers like the one that took his life. Robert's illness started as myelofibrosis, a problem in the bone marrow, and later became secondary myeloid leukemia, which has very limited treatment options. Even though she's excited about the scientific progress being made, it doesn't erase the emptiness of losing him. Lynda admits that life feels different without a partner by her side. "My life was an adventure with him," she recalls. They traveled, explored, laughed endlessly, and faced challenges together. Now, she says, doing things alone just isn't as much fun. She leans on her close girlfriends and her 2 children, Jessica and James, who were also very close to their father. They talk about him often, keeping his memory alive. Lynda smiles, remembering how their marriage worked so well. Robert was calm, steady, and even-tempered, and he enjoyed her lively personality. Together, they built a life full of love, laughter, and unforgettable moments. But even with all the memories, she still looks to the sky and wonders, "Where did you go?" That question lingers, a reminder that love like theirs never truly fades. What's the first thing you remember about seeing Lynda Carter as Wonder Woman? And do you think her honesty about her personal struggles makes her even more inspiring? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more incredible stories from Hollywood's fascinating history. See you next